Good morning and welcome to another session of Tuesday's Tour, Facebook Live sessions, where we're coming to you from different spots on campus. John Sautter along with April Holleiter behind the camera from your Purdue Alumni Association. And today we find ourselves in the Dauch Alumni Center on campus. 2 weeks ago we did the Reamers outside, you may recall, and April was on the verge of frostbite. And so I promised her we'd stay inside today, and it's a good thing because it's awfully cold outside. In fact, it's the week after Thanksgiving break on campus. It's 2 weeks, actually 2 weeks from yesterday before finals start. And so if you recall those days on campus, it's kind of dull, it's kind of dark, but somewhat intense as the students are wrapping up classes, getting ready. So we're in the Dauch Alumni Center, and location-wise, we are actually a block south of the Union Building, corner of Wood Street and Grant Street, across from the Young Hall, in our Dauch Alumni Center. Many of you, I don't think, get a chance to be inside the building, and so that's what we want to do today, is talk about the building. Actually, there's a lot to see in this magnificent building in terms of artwork, about scenes on campus, landmarks, and talks about traditions on all the different floors. We could have separate tours. In fact, we may have additional tours of the building. And so today we're just going to focus ourselves on the Spurgeon Hall of Spirits and the Rudolph living room. Those are the two rooms we'll be walking through rather quickly to try to get a lot of things in today. But a lot of Purdue nostalgia about the various aspects of campus in today's tour. So that's where we are, that's what we're going to do. So these are our namesakes right here, Dick and Sandy Dauch. Dick and Sandy Dauch, great folks. I had the chance to know them both. Dick Dauch was a fullback on the football team from 61 to 64, played for Jack Mullenkoff back then, did a great job, graduated in 64 in industrial management, very generous with his gifts back to the university and remembering his alma mater, and so appreciative of all the things that kind of went on here. And so his generosity led to this building. He made several gifts to the School of Cranor School of Management, which led to the Jerry Rawls building. Lots of contributions to the athletic department, would come back quite often himself. I had a chance to play golf with him a few times. A real competitor, I can tell you to this day, but really made quite a career for himself. After his industrial management degree, he went on to work for General Motors, became the youngest plant manager in the Chevrolet history, advanced up from there, worked for Lee Iacocca and Chrysler, and eventually became the founder and CEO of American Axle and Manufacturing Company, and would come back to campus and meet with particularly the football team. Was known for his motivational talks that he would give to the football team. And he would also give those in classes to students. I happened to hear one of those, and it was inspirational for sure. And so Dick and Sandy Dauch gave the money for the building, and this building was dedicated October of 2004. So it was the dream of Martin Jiske and Murray Blackwelder. Martin was the president. Murray Blackwelder was the vice president for development at the time, and they wanted to combine this building together, where we have alumni relations on one side and we have the fundraising activity on the other side, and the two work together for the betterment of the university in cultivating friendships and cultivating private funding. So on this side we have the alumni relations office, and if you see Kelly, she will greet you with a smile on the phone or in person. On this side of the building, we have the fundraising side of the activities going on. We're now going to walk through and look at some of the different displays that they have. One is a very interesting one right off the bat. You can come in here and have your picture taken with Neil Armstrong. This is actually a smaller version of the larger statue in front of the Armstrong Hall of Engineering. It's a replica that the sculptor provided. Alcove number 1 is the beginnings. Is the beginnings of the university, and you actually get to hear some of the songs of Purdue as it talks about Purdue beginnings. And predictably, we have John Purdue, we have David Ross, we have the Evelyn Hall story, we have one of the first flights at Purdue, we have pictures of the very first beginning of Ross-Ade Stadium. We actually have a cottage cheese container from the old creamery. Some of you remember the creamery that was active from the early 1900s to around 1968 or so, until it closed, with cottage cheese and butter and lots of ice cream, of course, also. one of the first microphones from WBAA, all the different things within the beginnings alcove. The next alcove we come to is traditions. And so with traditions, Purdue has a lot of traditions maintained by the Reamer Club. And so we see an R board from Rosie Reiki back in '97, and we see a gimlet hat, and we see some jerseys, we see a replica of the world's largest drum facing here, the Grand Prix, lots of things within the area here, a band uniform or glee club uniform under the traditions. As we come into the main hallway then of the Spurgeon Hall of Spirit, we have a wonderful display for our astronauts, our 24 astronauts, starting with Gus Grissom all the way down. Actually, if you're going to be counting, we have 22 here. We have 2 more to add before the Astronaut Reunion. You know, we're having a huge reunion of all the astronauts next October, celebrating Purdue's 150th. And so it's a list of all the astronauts, and the stars represent the number of missions, the number of times they went into space. And Jerry Ross is one of the astronauts who's been up the most. Second, John Blaha and Janice Voss are down here with all the different missions that they've been on. Very interesting display then is around the corner as we look at the patches for the astronauts. The astronauts design their own patches so they can be as intricate, you know, or simplified as they want, and the one that most folks want to see is Apollo 11, which is right here. The Eagle has landed. And so this is the one that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin were on as they went to the moon. These 3 here are from Gene Cernan on his different trips. Just a wonderful replica, wonderful display of those. And if we back up a little bit, the architects, when they put the building together, they wanted some significance to the astronaut program, and they did. And so if you look in the floor, we see what looks like a globe, and so that represents the Earth. And then we're going to have April swing way up and look at a little ball hanging. I'm not sure you can see it, but there's a little ball hanging from the ceiling, and that's the moon. And these are to scale in size and distance. And so that's the challenge we had in launching our astronauts up to the moon, putting them on the moon and getting them back down. You know, quite the challenge indeed. This is a great spot then to view the Spurgeon Hall of Spirit. Let me mention Tom Spurgeon. Tom Spurgeon graduated in '61. He was actually a manager of the football team, but another great example, rivals Dick Dauch in terms of the amount of generosity he has given for the university with contributions, he and his wife Joy both, for contributions for the Hall of Spirit, the Spurgeon Club in Mackey Arena, the Spurgeon Golf Complex out on the north side of campus, and currently is still serving on our Board of Trustees. He's our alumni representative to the board and is currently serving as the vice chair of our Board of Trustees. Just a great guy. But Tom Spurgeon Hall of Spirit, behind him up on the ceiling is a mobile. I always like to call that the largest mobile on campus. And unfortunately we don't have the sun, but if the sun was shining today, there's this kind of a glorious display of colors around the lobby area here. And the mobile itself, those symbols are actually supposed to be mortar boards up there. And so it's symbolic of Purdue and graduating and those sorts of things. Yes?
Paul chimed in and said he's been in this room many times and never noticed the Earth and the Moon.
Oh yeah, you gotta check that out whenever you're in this particular, in the building. It's worth coming to see. Lots of things to see here. Here's one more thing to see this time of the year. Here's a replica of half of a Boilermaker Special. So this is a great spot for a photo. In fact, if you haven't taken that picture for your Christmas card yet, this might be the spot to come to have a photo taken. You can stick your head out right here, have a photo taken with the Boilermaker Special. During homecoming, it's especially popular, but now at Christmas time, it is also something else to come in and have a picture taken. We have an easy location to find. We have free visitor parking right behind our building, and so you may want to consider a visit, you know, as you come and look at this. So we're going to swing around and come to our next alcove. This is the one on Faces of Purdue. Almost missed it. Faces of Purdue, and it's not totally functional right now, but when it is, you can actually come up and touch the photo of the person and see if you have it correctly identified. These are different presidents of Purdue. There's Richard Owen, Rudolph Stone, John Purdue, James Smart, David Ross, all the different folks. Mary Matthews is down here, Amelia Earhart, and touch the screen and identify those folks. Test your history of Purdue and the folks who made it famous. The next alcove is athletics. A nice display of various uniforms. We even have a picture of Johnny Wooden. We have a putter. We have music playing in here too, if you can pick that up. Here's Purdue's first football team in 1887. That's 2 years before they got the nickname of Boilermakers. And a variety of jerseys. In fact, there's one right in the middle. It says Purdue's Rose Bowl 2001, and it's number 14. I think we all know that Drew Brees was number 15, but number 14. April, do you know who number 14 was?
Vinnie Sutherland.
Vinnie Sutherland is correct. Vinnie Sutherland wore number 14. He was a wide receiver and a kickoff specialist and provided a lot of thrills. He went on to play in the NFL for about 3 years or so. Exciting player. Now we're going to come back and I want to point out a couple of things on this wall. One are the doors of the Union Building. These are the original doors on the west end of the Union Building. So many of you would have entered these doors many times. Has the architectural features of the Union Building that you see in the windows, but also on the chairs in different spots. And the nice brass plate. I have to tell you a story about the brass plates. When I was the vice president for Housing and Food Service, one of my pet peeves, I suppose, was if I always thought if you have brass, it needs to shine. And so I always wanted to make sure every time I entered that building, the brass was actually shining. And so I'm told that whenever I was coming to the building, the word went out, and they always made sure the brass, in terms of the kick plates and the door plates, were always kind of shining. And so they don't have that anymore, but these are the original doors. And if we actually go up above that, we see probably the largest version of Hail Purdue on campus, written on the walls here. And it's another great photo op. If you forget the words, you come right here and pick them up.
Sing it, John.
We'll do that next time, April. Thank you, though. We're now going to come into the Rudolph living room. Rudolph living room is here, dedicated to Joe Rudolph. And I do want to take a few minutes and talk about Joe Rudolph. Joe Rudolph passed away just this past August, as a matter of fact, at the age of 96. Joe was the inspirational leader. He was a legend on campus, just a great guy to be around. I knew him personally. He would take me on alumni trips. That was my first exposure to alumni work and what they did. Joe graduated in 1948. Didn't know exactly what he was going to do after that, but he was a manager of the football team for Jack Mollenkopf, and Jack called him. I think Joe might have been in Champaign at the time, but he called him and said, "Come back over here. There's a job as an executive director of the Alumni Association." And Joe had that job from 1953 to 1988, about 35 years, as the executive director of the Alumni Association. And that's when the university was really starting to kick in. That's when the Golden Girl was named, and that's when the first newsreel was done within the association and travel. I think he really brought the Alumni Association into the modern era with his strong relationships with athletics and all across campus. The club structure that we have today, Joe Rudolph was instrumental in getting that done. In 1959, he helped found the John Purdue Club. We needed a booster club for athletics, and so Joe was instrumental in that. Just a great guy to always be around, always had a coat and tie on, known to many as Mr. Purdue around here. And this room is dedicated to Joe. Joe's wife Gail still lives in town, and one of their sons is here also. And so Joe Rudolph, just a legend, and we do miss him. Out back is our patio. And I should point out that this facility, the patio, and other facilities are available if the public, if you want to have a reception or a gathering, celebrate an anniversary or whatever it might be. This might be a great spot to do that. Because one of the highlights of the room, here's the article, the actual article out of the newspaper when we beat Wabash College back in 1889, and they were pretty sore about the whole thing and the cruises of having burly Boilermakers from Purdue come in. They thought we had some ringers brought in for the game, but no, we didn't. But they liked the name of Boilermaker, and we took the name after that particular football game when we trounced Wabash College. This is the Resetti banquet room. It's a large banquet room, seats around 80 folks at round tables or so. Another great place for a meeting, if you want to consider that for a get-together. Then I want to point out some of the this display case that we have here, where we have a collection of really a wide range of memorabilia, which prompts me to say to any of you, if you find memorabilia in your basement or those drawers you hadn't thought it was there from your days at Purdue or your parents or your grandparents, we love to collect that sort of thing here and display it. And so these are just a variety of things. Here's a bookend with the old seal. The old seal, many of you might remember. A variety of keys, buttons. There's a photograph of the campus from 1905. Down here is another container of half and half from the Purdue Creamery when it was open. And Swiss cheese. This is the gold peppers. Here's a paddle and actually a gold pepper. Gold Pepper was an organization formed around 1925 or so, and it was in existence till the 60s, and it was to get women interested in athletics because there was nothing for women, and they weren't too interested in it, and so this organization was to encourage women to be more interested in athletics, and of course they did, and they wanted to do their own, and eventually that led to women's athletic programs. But the Gold Peppers was kind of the start of that. Here we see another sweater, a football sweater, and the green beanies. The green beanies, the one that says CC, that's Carey Club. There's one that says Excalibur, that would be Wiley Hall. That was the club at Wiley Hall. And on it goes. The green beanies, of course, called pots, were something all the freshmen had to wear. And part of orientation was pots off, pots on. You had to take them off, put them on real quick, that sort of thing. And we have a collection of those. This display case, we have a football autographed by Leroy Keys. Give the ball to Leroy. Some other photographs. Here's a cover of a football program. Just a variety of buttons again. Here's when we went to the Sun Bowl in 2001. Some of you may recall that one. And other memorabilia down here. This is one of April's favorites. We happened to find this loving cup, and it was presented to the Dames Club for best float in the Purdue Circus, May 12th of 1922. The Purdue Circus, right here it is. So, and some debris, and we have a collection of all the debris in our library, but we have some in here also. So you might want to consider sending some things. You're certainly coming to view these things. Careful behind you. And we'll wrap up as we talk about the nice fireplace we have here. Great place to warm up on a cold day like today. But even in the background on the TV, we have a newsreel playing. And I want to make sure I mention that we have all the newsreels available from 1955 to 2017. We're in 2018, 19. But they're all available. If you're ever back in the area, you stop by and you want to see the newsreel from your particular year, class of 67, class of 55, or whatever it might be, we can display those for you right here. Yes, April.
Cheryl comments, hello, she remembers the green pots from Doomy in 1968.
Yes, they would have been. They would have been very active at that particular point. Along with gold cords. I think one of the display cases might have had some gold cords that I hadn't pointed out, but we have some there. We have photos of gold cords throughout the building, and as I mentioned, there are photographs and other landmark things throughout the building that lend themselves to a tour, by themselves. And so this hopefully gives you a feel for what's available in this great building. It's really a home away from home if you're on campus and you want to have some of the nostalgia and see some of the things that have gone on. This would be the spot to come. Yes, April.
Mr. Jack Sautter chimed in and said, hello, Grandpa.
Jack, my sophomore grandson on campus, getting ready for finals. Great to have you with us, Jack. Hope you're studying hard and getting ready for the finals that are coming up. Just a great kid, just a great kid. So All ages are watching today, folks. So, with that great comment, we'll wrap it up on behalf of April. We want to say thanks for watching. We'll be with you again in 2 weeks. We're actually going to be coming to you from the Hall of Music, and we're going to talk about commencement. Hovde Hall, Elliott Hall of Music, and commencement. That'll be our topic in 2 weeks. So we hope to see you then. Hail Purdue.